We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest today is Beatrice Adenodi, originally from Nigeria. She has a wonderful company called Mirror Inc. And she is the author of Mindless Behaviors, Breaking Through the Unseen Barriers. She's a sought-after business leader, consultant, and speaker, and first-generation Nigerian American. Unique marketing perspectives gives you the ability to recognize the mindless behaviors that prevent us from reaching our unstoppable limits and potential. She says when we stepped into the biases at a young age and replicate what we see throughout our lives, according to Beatrice, we wear masks to hide behind, but we can learn to take them off. Once we do and transform, it is inevitable. In direct, no-nonsense approach, she shares with us the reality of what's holding people back and blocking them from their personal lives. And we have a lot to talk about. And quite honestly, folks, I don't care what business you're in. First and foremost, you're in the business of self. Who are you? People want to know that you're being authentically you. You're present with yourself. You're not bringing any garbage or agendas from your life experience. We want to know you are you. So are you truly representing your business by being you? Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
My pleasure, my pleasure. A lot of people have stepped into businesses, it's a dream or a vision, something exciting, or maybe it's popular, or it's, they're looking at it from the money side. But what they don't realize, all of their beliefs that they've accumulated through their lives, everything that has molded them into who they are today, good or bad, is going with them in every aspect of their business. So how did they face that? How did they recognize that in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good question. You see, the thing, like you said, we're highly conditioned, right? And like we pick up a lot of baggage along the way. And then I always say we've been handed an invisible book. And this book is like what we carry through our lives. And that's like what we inherit, the manual, the manual that nobody talks about.
No.
So,
and who wrote it anyway?
Yeah, who wrote the manual? You see, the manual is written by somebody else, by somebody that actually thought they figured it out.
Yeah.
But they were only doing the best at the time frame that they lived within, right? And sometimes that manual is outdated. So your question is, how do we acknowledge and become aware? And most of the time, I was just talking to a fellow friend of mine, the house almost needs to burn down before you can actually see its value.
Yeah.
And sometimes I notice with human beings, we have to be slapped in the face and we have to go through these chaotic moments and like these different traumas to get us through to get us to a point of like discovering the lessons or repeating the same thing over and over and over again, right? So I feel like some of the ways to become aware is most people have challenges in their lives, right? What is one aspect in your life that is giving you trouble? And when you identify it, then how are you contributing to this chaos?
Yes.
That is
because we're feeding it.
Created.
Yeah.
Yes. And most of the time we're feeding it, right? Somebody can light the fire, but somebody had to keep the torch going.
Keep the flames going. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we don't realize we're doing that, but it's like, if you get a wound and it's a sore in your hand, wherever in your body, and you keep rubbing it and you keep rubbing it, you're aggravating it, right? And eventually it's going to either not heal or become a scar.
Yeah.
So, we have to be aware that if we keep feeding into that false narrative, then that is what we're putting our energy on. Right. And just because somebody else wrote that manual, that was for them, and it was probably dysfunctional anyway. Why have you picked up this manual? And why does it take a cosmic 2x4, the burning down of the house, before you realize that you need to reset and relook at your life in a different way?
You see, here's the deal, like even in the business world, everybody wants to escape, for example, everybody wants to escape the 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
But they escape the 9-to-5 job to go into working for themselves with the 9-to-5 mindset. So now they're realizing they walked from being a zombie to a slave in their business.
And
which
actually,
now
that
you're
9 to
working
5 is
more.
now 9 to midnight.
Right, 9
Yeah.
to midnight, right?
Yeah.
So instead of getting frustrated and reacting on the reason why, and like reflecting on the reason why they left the 9-to-5, they go into business for themselves. And now they work like a slave, wishing that they went back to the
Yes.
9-to-5 because they haven't figured out the reason why they left in the first place.
Taking the same old patterns with them.
Right.
And realizing they're not working, and then blaming everybody else or everything else, except for what the real problem is. You have brought an old mindset with you. And that mindset doesn't work in this new paradigm. And if you do not, as you quintessentially say, burn down the house, go back down to the ashes, and like a phoenix be reborn, you're going to keep repeating the same old thing over and over again, no matter where, no matter what, no matter with whom.
And I just feel that, like, most people, you can't change something with the same mindset that created it, right?
No.
And so, like, one of the challenges with even working with entrepreneurs and small businesses, they're like, okay, well, I'm doing my own thing, it's my own. But no, it's not really your own, because you lost control of it.
Yeah.
And you never really had control of it, because you never thought through the reason why you left. And sometimes you find your purpose in, like, in the midst of burning down your house.
Yeah.
But at the same time is, how do I become free within my life? And most people are slaves to their lives.
Yes.
And even the people that they're working with as well.
Well, going back to the analogy of the house burning down, let's take, tornado area. The house gets wiped away by a tornado, and there's another one going to come back next year or the year after, yet they build the house again in the same spot, and they don't reinforce it. And it's like, oh, and it's blown away again. Oh, my life is shattered. You've repeated a pattern that made you vulnerable in the first place, and now you've made yourself triply vulnerable, through the trauma expanding on it. If it wasn't secure in the first place, why are you rebuilding in the same place?
Here's the deal. It's the conditioning.
Yeah.
On the international, there's an international phenomenon. And I know that, like, when you talk to when you go to different countries and when you talk to different people, it's our education system is it's a rat race. It's a slave game.
Yeah.
It's like, you might as well say there's many mice traps everywhere. And
Absolutely.
like, there is no substance within the education system.
No.
Maybe there's some, like, maybe a little bit of substance, but there's no substance, right?
It's more about the conditioning
of
the mind rather than the expansion of the mind.
Yeah. So we're not really expanding in a way of, like, evolving. We're actually devolving.
Yes.
Because if we think about little kids, if you walk them out, they're geniuses.
Yes.
Right? So it's almost like you're trying to protect the children from being something that from not being you, but they're watching you. So they're mimicking who you are. So if you're like the parent and you're the guardian of this person and you're supposed to be their leader, and you're saying, save the children, you haven't saved yourself. How are you going to save the kids?
Amen, sister. Amen, amen, amen. A child, they did a wonderful commercial a while ago of a child mimicking smoking and kind of talking as if she was drunk. And you think, what's this child doing? And then you're kind of seeing the mother and the party from the night before. And it's like children are like sponges. They're going to absorb what's around them. So, it is be careful what you expose them to. And, I'm a mother of 3 grown-up children and a grandchild. And I recognize certain patterning that I was repeating from my mother. And I realized, although I wanted to bring them up differently, subliminally, I was repeating that pattern. And until we look at those old patterns and go, look, it didn't serve me when I grew up, I realized that. Why am I imposing it on my children? It's not just a question of looking at it and going, I'm going to, redirect. You've got to delete that old patterning. You've got to obliterate it so that it has no chance of coming back whatsoever, because so much goes on subliminally that we don't even know about. So I think one of the first problems or issues that we have is recognizing what we're doing over and over again and expecting it to work differently.
And I feel like we need to understand, not understand, not understand. We need to internally stand.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Internally stand. That's perfect.
What we are what the conditions are, right? So like I have patterns that I know my mother has.
Yep.
I know the patterns that my mother has. So I have the ability to change those patterns.
Yes.
So it will not affect me.
Right.
Because we do eventually become our parents, but I want to become the best versions of my parents, not the ones that like will wreak havoc on my life and end up with some of the situations that my parents have got into, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's okay to become your ancestors as long as you don't make your ancestors mistakes.
Precisely. Take the strengths, leave the troubles.
Right, read the troubles. It didn't work. And like, we could spin this off 100 ways, but economics is one thing. The economy, the government, everything around us is based in a reactive sense, right? We're constantly reacting to things. That's why the violence are happening. That's why a lot of the domestic violence and a lot of the shootings are happening. And then you have the news carving our hearts out, leaving it on the dinner table for us to basically collect it.
I hear you. And, and if you were at all as sensitive or any of you have a heart, you're going to be affected by this. I see that the news takes a pimple and makes it a volcanic eruption. Right? And it's like, this is happening, that is happening. And it just stirs us up. And we never settle down. And we know for fact, when you are in a state of crisis or upset, everything about you contracts. Everything. The oxygen, the chi, the energy, nothing works. How can you have clarity? How can you be present when you're in a state of clenched? And this exterior noise all the time is clenching people up, and they don't know how to unclench it. Take that breath and just be present with themselves.
I always say 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time.
That's being present.
It must be present.
Yes.
And another thing is that we live in a very our society is so slow, like in a sense of like
slow to learn.
That one too. But like we abuse time.
Oh yeah.
As if we allegedly have infinite amount of time, which we can argue whether time exists or not, right? But for us to value time the way we abuse it.
Yeah.
And so we waste it on moments that don't even matter. And it's very unconscious. It's just almost I quoted there's this book called The Instant Millionaire. And I feel like his name is Robert. Oh God, I think Robert Fisher is his name. And as I was reading the book, he says, if you're not doing what you love, you belong to the living dead.
I agree.
And it shoots you in the heart when that happens. Like
you're robotic.
Very robotic.
I 100% agree with that, because I draw the analogy, people are probably sick of me doing this, but is, we're each an instrument, and part of our self-discovery is to discover what our instrument is. What's our gift? What are we here to learn, how we learn to play it? And then which orchestra do we join? Where as individuals in our gifts can harmoniously come together and play in a way that resonates out as an invitation to others. We are meant to be collective, but people are clumping people collectively together without taking responsibility of their own self as an individual. What we bring to the table is what we're serving. So how about we serve something better to ourselves so we can bring something better to the table?
So one of the things I noticed is that we need to understand that we're all human. I feel like if you talk to different people around the world, there's different people on a regular basis, you would think that we have 7 billion different races on this planet.
Yes, I know. We all bleed
but
the
there's
same.
only one race.
I know, the human race. And it's just like our food, our fruit, our music taste, everything in life. Diversity makes things more exciting. The different cultures that are around the world makes things more exciting. We learn from each other. Imagine if an orchestra is all made up out of violins. Right? We are meant to be different instruments. That's what makes it interesting. That's where the creativity comes from. So why are we so hung up on differences?
You see, the reason why we hung up on differences is because we haven't seen each other as human. So I don't think
from the inside out, not the outside in.
From the inside out, right? And I had a conversation with a friend. Hopefully she will not. If she look at this, we'll talk.
No names mentioned. No names mentioned.
No names mentioned. But we were talking about even the healthcare, and we were talking about, like, she said, well, everybody is different. Everybody's body is different. I say, I understand that, but don't we bleed? Don't we eat?
Yeah.
Don't we stand? Don't we walk?
Don't we poop?
Don't we poop? Like, we shit, right?
Yes. So I sometimes said, full of it.
Yes. But we get sick? Like, yes. She said, so I sat there and I said, how many races exist? I mean, there might be more extraterrestrial, whatever. But how many races do you see? He's like, well, 2 genders, and we are the human race. I was like, oh, so how is the treatment different from body to body for the same disease?
Right.
It's like, you got a point. And I was like, so, I mean, there is some level of people, there's obvious logic that we have not taken into even account for even the level of awareness. It's almost like if you want to hide something, hide it in plain sight because nobody can't see it.
Oh God, I hear you. It's here. It's in front of you. Where? And especially when it comes to common sense. And it just seems to elude people altogether.
We have to complicate everything.
I know. Yeah. Why? Do we feel that we're more superior by complicating things? Do we feel that we're more worthy by complicating things? I have an 18-month-old grandson, and when I watch him play, when I watch him go through life, and just watch him discover, he is present. And in his discovery and what he's learning to do, he is present. And as he is present, he's learning more and more and more, and he's getting more and more joy out of it. And we've forgotten that joy, that gift of being present. We're so busy looking outside for approval or permission or to validate something that we've forgotten how to be the beautiful essence we really are.
And we're quite dynamic.
We
are beautiful, and we're very powerful. And sometimes we give our powerful away to things that don't serve us. And like,
probably I feel all like the time.
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah. And reclaiming that power, that's kind of one of the reasons why I wrote what I wrote. Because, like, I realized I was giving my power away.
Yeah.
And how do I reclaim my power? And how do I take it back on a regular basis, right? I don't want to watch the news, and I don't want to be employed in my own business. Like, I don't want to work 24 hours a day. 23.
And that I am in my own business, but I had to draw the line and set my own boundaries.
Exactly.
Right? I work, I come to the computer at 10, my shows are 11 and 1. I do the editing, I do this, I do that, 5 o'clock. Unless there's an absolute deadline for something, I'm off the computer. It's my time now. But initially it was, oh no, I've got to work this, I've got to do that. No, why? If I don't get it done today, I didn't get it done. Unless it's absolutely imperative I get it done, it can wait for tomorrow.
Right.
Why am I putting stress on myself? Why am I taking precious time away from myself? For what? For whose approval?
Yeah. And who's going to benefit from it? And like, especially if you have like service-based businesses, and like, I know I have this article, I have not published it, I should publish it, called Chasing Shiny Objects, and how we chase contracts, right?
Yes.
And we chase these different contracts, and we want to cater to what the client is, right? And we want to do this, and we want to like make sure we want to make sure we're offering everything the client needs. And I said this before. Did you see Chanel modify their prices for the customer when they argue about how expensive it is?
Yes.
No. Did you see Dolce & Gabbana, like all of these Apple and Max?
Yes.
Modify their prices because you're disgruntled on how expensive it is or how it looks? Nope. If you don't like it,
buy something else.
Buy something else.
Exactly. Buy it within your price bracket. You know, do your due diligence. Yeah. And the thing is, when you put that worth upon you and go, you know, this service I'm offering, I can consciously say is worth the price you're paying.
Exactly.
Right? And then you own it. As you said, you stand, you know, you stand in it. And that is, if people can't afford it. Now, I always believe in philanthropy, and I always believe that for some people, there is always the giveaway at some point to help some people. Because the more we help them, the more they stand on their own 2 feet, and the more they become a solution for everyone else. My problem I was giving everything away. And that's something actually I'm going to be working with one of my people on resetting my financial set of mind, because I'm still inclined to do that. But it's also, let's look at people as their worth, not only from the dollar point of view. I hate looking at people and saying, oh, they're rich, they're this, they're that. No, I want to see the enrichment of who they are, the abundance of who they are, the flawsomeness of who they are. That's where I see their enrichment, not the dollar sign that shines around them.
Who are they? Who are they willing to become?
Yes.
And like I always ask that question, what are you willing to become? What kind of icon? And you be shocked, especially with some of my with people around the world, even if they have businesses, they're like, oh, I don't know. And they look, and like, I'm like, you gotta ask yourself the 5 whys. Why? Till you get to the root, right?
Well, if you don't ask why, you're not inviting either the problem or the solution. And if you're going, why me? Then all you're doing is stepping into victimization. Right? But if you ask to say, but why do I keep repeating this pattern? Then you're allowing your mind to actually look at, well, you're repeating this pattern over and over again. Where does it stem from? Okay, how do I shut that down?
Yeah.
Right?
And the answers always come to you too.
But we've got to step out of our own drama in many ways.
Yeah. I think it's like, this is like the last chapter of my book is living in chaos, because after you build up, you're now in chaos, right? And I remember I did an event. So I do all of these simulations. I do these different events. And I actually did an event called Living in Chaos. And I turned the event center into a landfill. Like literally have garbage everywhere, and like within the piles and midst of garbage, I have these signs, like, and these signs say these negative self-talk that we tell each other that keeps us really stuck in these moments, right? And the whole point is that like we allow this garbage, a lot of these mind trash, even physical trash, to pollute our lives.
We do.
And then and then these
I
negative
wonder why, it's repeating itself. Well, that's what you're feeding.
That's what you're feeding. You're feeding the monster.
Yes. And so what do you expect to change? I mean, when you talk mindless behavior, it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
It's insanity. Yeah.
Right? So but there is the different mindless behavior on the other side of the coin, which is soul and heart and spirit wisdom. You step into that presence and you allow what you need to know when you need to know it to be. Then there is that divine wisdom that knows how to extract from the knowledge what it needs to know in that moment. And that is such clarity and such truth. But we think that we've always got to be in this upper intellect, which again is coming from an educational dictation of what you should be rather than what you are. And if we can be present with self and allow the divine wisdom to come and speak to us, then we have the clarity of what we need to do in that next moment because it's clearly in front of us.
And I feel
without shiny objects.
Without shiny objects. I feel like our mirrors are smoky. We need to clear them. So.
Oh, they're distorted. They got a wobble in them.
I know. They need to see it clearly.
Yes, I can see clearly now. The mirror is clear. Yes. When I was a coach, I used to use mirror therapy. I would have people talk in the mirror. And it would be, tell the mirror everything that's wrong in life. And have them speak to it and really look at themselves. And I think when they say it enough, they start realizing they're pulling the wool over their own eyes or they're lying to themselves. And then it's like, well, if you keep feeding that, isn't that going to keep growing? Now, how about you tell the mirror all the things to be grateful for in your life? And when you talk about gratitude and you talk about what you love, your entire persona changes. The body changes, the light in your eyes, the tone of your voice, and it lightens you up. And it's like that reflection coming back at you. Which reflection do you want to live with?
And I feel like it's very, it's something that like we refuse to do because I used to do it when I was a vocal major, doing the mirror. And they like sing in front of the mirror. And the first time I laughed.
Yes.
I started laughing. And then I got used to it. I'm like, oh, I understand it.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to get comfortable because we're so comfortable being everything else.
An illusion of what we think we are.
Yeah.
Rather than the truth of what's in front of you.
And what is the truth in front of us, know? And like I said, we're so dynamic. But like if we're only at our 10%, I always say 50%. What if we can get to that 100%?
Yes.
What if we even go 10% each year? If you get to that, if you can climb that capacity, start to expand your mind, who can you really become?
And that 100% may be on the deathbed when you finally have a different clarification, because when you stop learning, you stop living. We're here to constantly live in wonderment. We're constantly, what else? Where else? Who else can I be? And if we allow ourselves to go through that journey of there's always something else. And it's not like there's always something else to fulfill me, like in the sense of needing to fill me up, but there's always something else to explore that is so wonderful. And I think if we lose that exploration, we lose a great deal of our own living capacity because we stop wondering and we start withering.
Yeah. And I feel like people are attracted to the youth because of its innocence.
Yes.
And because of this openness, right? But the thing is that we can ignite that innocence within us and that openness, right? Because I feel like the older you get, the more dynamic you are. And it seems like everybody starts to go like this. They're blooming in their 20s, and when they get to their 30s, they're like, oh yeah, I gotta conform and I gotta be a big person. And then they get to their 40s, you're like, they're now going through this midlife crisis, which if you talk to a 90-year-old to a 40-year-old, they're like, yeah, you're a joke. Yeah. And then you get to 50s. all of this, then you got all of these diseases. We wear each other out. We are just living to die. Like,
yes, or dying to live,
dying to live.
Yeah.
So it's just almost like, where is this continuum? Like, as you get into the sea, you grow older, and you're like, now you're starting to be this bolt of light, like moving through life flow. And like, I even talk about me in this, I even talk about my art philosophy and how we need to be in state of flow. And like being able to acknowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That creativity within us.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. If we're not in the flow, we're in the no.
Yeah.
You know, and
right.
it's not the K and no. You know, it's the no. Right. You know, like there's nothing happening. You know, yeah, exactly. And you know, and you talk about the old. I live with an 89-year-old who still drives, would still work if there was work for her, and she's just got a childlike exuberance over her. The way, you know, she had polio when she was young. She lost her twin sister. Her fiance was killed 4 days before the wedding. She's been through her shit in life, right? And yet she always chose the attitude of be appreciative of what you do have. There's always something to be grateful for. And I think that attitude is a very healthy attitude. I think we've become, especially in the last 30 years, with consumerism being rammed down our throat, that unless we have this, or unless we have that, we're not going to be happy. And we've forgotten how to simply be happy with ourselves.
And be.
Just be.
Just become.
Yes.
Just become you. Just sit there and just like, oh, what do I really like to do? Do I like that, or do I really don't like that? A lot of people do a lot of things they don't like to do.
Because they're expected to do it, but you know, at some point say no. Right. It's okay to say no.
Yeah, it's not that you're supposed to do it, it's that you were trained to do it, and you can untrain yourself on not do it.
Well, we've always done it that way, so I'm going to continue. Why? Are you happy? No. Then why are you going down the road of misery? Yeah. Well, it's all I know. Well, you know what? If you had some wonderment, you would learn to know some more things.
You know, comfort is a demon.
Oh God, yes.
That nobody never wants to acknowledge.
Complacency, right? Getting too comfortable is complacency. Yeah.
And the more complacent you are, because I feel like the older you are, the more complacent you are, the younger you are. You're like, I knew all of this and I was going after my dreams. And then as I get older, I'm confined to this. And then now I don't know who I am because I lost time. And like, you're like, okay, you can't teach the youth anything.
Yeah.
Because you haven't found yourself. So now we have the blind leading the blind. And I feel like this is a slave game that we were injected to.
Yes.
It's almost like we have like, I mean, it's slaves on steroids. This is cool, right? And I think that like we manufactured factory-based leaders.
The droids that are manufactured, it's the same reiteration that keeps coming out of the mouth, the same almost hate rhetoric. It's just like we're seeing this cycle constantly all the time. I call it a tornado, where you know people get caught in this tornado of hate and discontent and discord and disconnect and everything this, and they don't know how to get out of it. Well, if you want to get out of a tornado, you've got to go to the eye of the tornado, go to the center to come out of it. But people are just, I'm caught in a tornado. And it's like, you know, don't be mindless in there. Go, okay, I'm caught in this. How do I get out? And once you start asking how you get out and you really want to get out, that's when you start seeing the exit signs.
Yeah, and you start seeing the exit everywhere. And then, I mean, I just say that like our mentality, what we think and how we are, is what we build. And so the governments are in the world, this reflection of who the people are, right? Yeah. And like
you voted them.
Those are toilets. Like those are, I'm not gonna I mean, they're manufactured. They're manufactured leaders, okay?
And they're the manufactured. Fact that there was a certain president that you had not so long ago that is just who he is. and what he represents became a huge spotlight on the disconnect and the dysfunction of America.
I think he's a mirror. I think
a total mirror.
Yes. I feel like most of the presidents before him and even after him is garbage.
But it's the trouble is with, as you said, we elect them from our own discontent.
Yeah.
Now, if we were at truth with our own essence, in our own presence, we would see who the true leaders are. The people that are really in the business of politics to serve the people, because they've forgotten they're servants of the people, right?
Yeah,
and if we saw those people from our own selves, instead of reflecting our discontent and then pointing another discontented, it's that cycle, vicious cycle. We do it with marriages and relationships. We do it with jobs. We do it with politics. We do it with friends, and we expect to gain a different result.
No, I totally understand. And I feel like once we start to understand that we're all part of the same system and that we're the human race, a lot of these politicians and the governments of the world, it has to be, it needs a facelift, because I don't think
it needs a total reset, a total obliteration, and a completely reset altogether of totally different people.
Yeah, I really think that all of them can be canned. So bye, give them all walk-in papers.
There's one or two that are younger that I feel are in it for the right reason. And you can see it in their persona. They're generally people that are attacked, either gay or Hispanic, and they're attacked for being who they are. And they've got this thick skin. No, I'm here to do a job. I'm here for the people. If you have an issue with that, it's your issue. And they're strong enough because they're here for the right reason. And those are the people we need to get behind, because they are the no-nonsense people. That's why they've been made a target, because they're people that aren't going to put up with the BS anymore.
Yeah. And we got to be careful. I always say that, be careful who we back, be careful who we talk about, because the ones that we do stand against sometimes are the real demons.
Oh, yeah.
For is all they're all for against. Sometimes I start to get neutral. I just get neutral with all of it, because I see oh my God, all of them are, it's just crazy. It's just a little bit more of a
I have a great belief in humanity when humanity chooses to take accountability for their own choices and come home to self, and from that authenticity then step out in service of others, because we're all here to be contributed. And while we're pointing fingers that it's everybody else's fault, which we like to do as a humanity, there's three fingers pointing back at you going, well, what are you doing about it? Are you a part of the problem? Are you stepping up to resolve things without the pitchforks, the gun, or the hate rhetoric? Are you fixing yourself so your vibration and your frequency could be a part of that collective harmony? Or are you the nails on the chalkboard?
Like the nails on the chalkboard. And or pushing them in the chalkboard with the nails on it.
But even when you say that, your teeth cringe. I
know. It's just like the nails.
But we don't realize that we are the problem, but we also can be the solution. And only when we take accountability for ourselves and stop the mindless beliefs that are constantly going on, and the puppeteering that you've beautifully drawn on your cover there of the brain being pulled by strings. When we surrender to the soul and the heart and the spirit of us, and the essence of our beauty, of what we are as a beautiful divine creature in this universe, not just of this planet, then we realize we can be a part of the solution. But when we are looking to blame, or looking to shame, or looking to abstain from any responsibility, then we are part of the problem.
We are. And I think that we just need to I say we lay our beds according to how we live it, how we sleep. And like, I feel like the responsibility is all on us. It's up to us to save ourselves.
You know
not
that
up to save the world or anything.
No, you're saving the world by saving yourself.
Yeah.
Because you become part of that collective solution.
Right.
Right? It's up to us. Improve yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know that terminology, you've made your bed, now lie in it?
Yeah.
Well, who says you can't unmake your bed or change the sheets or even change the mattress or the bed altogether? Why do we have to stay on that lumpy bed?
Right. Nobody is bounding you into shackles. That's the worst part about like some of this stuff. Like some of this is all mental. It's like we're not shackled. We don't have like in some countries maybe, you know, but like I'm gonna speak for me being in a Western civilization.
Right.
We don't have shackles on us.
No, they're mental shackles.
We are mental shackles, right? So how, in like even my book cover, like you mentioned, if you really look at it, the marionette bends and like how that gold comes out and the strings are starting to break.
Right.
And I feel like the strings are starting to break and like we're trying to break the barriers, but most of the time we don't know how.
That's the big question, the how. You've got so many people say, but how? But what do? I don't know how to break the cycle. Well, first take a deep breath.
Right. Take a deep breath.
And the how will present itself, whether it's you with your wonderful program or somebody else, but the how will always present itself when you take the deep breath and become present with yourself. What did they say? When the student is ready, the teacher will
appear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh
but
my God.
we're too frantic. But how? Well, again, clench fists, clench body. How can you receive anything? You talked about that chaos. When you become that state of chaos, how can clarity come?
Yeah. How can that really come? And I tell people, those how-to books don't serve you. And like, because now you're reading a training manual. Now you're reading another manual that another person wrote. Like
that doesn't make sense, and you're trying to make sense out of it. Yeah.
Right. So the how-tos, like, tell me what to do. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I'm just gonna lay these options. Pick. Yes. Right. So there's a high level of
interactive. Participate in your own life, you know? Yeah.
And like in my business consulting, I have 3 words: engage, experience, evolve.
I love it.
So it goes like let me engage with you. Let me lean in. Let me become curious, and let me experience, like, go and taste things, right? Can we do? And I ask people a lot, like, what did you have for breakfast? And like, what time did you have it? And like, exactly what was in that breakfast, and did you taste it? Yeah. Most people can't even tell you.
Right. Yes. No. I think I had, well, I'm not sure. Was that the other day? Yeah, I guess they're not tuned into the now. But you know, that you showing how engaged you are in them helps them, because you're mirroring back, them become engaged with themselves. Okay. So many people are looking to coaches and other people, fix me, fix me, fix me. No, you're not there to fix them. You're there to show them the skills and the tools of how to repair their thinking for themselves.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of like the flawed perception of coaches, that most coaches are teaching their lives, other people their lives, right?
Are they functional or dysfunctional? Check their lives out first.
Wait, check it out, right? Instead of like evolving the person life, you like, here are the tools, but here's some of the tools that work for me, but you don't need to be part of this program or this step-by-step process. It's almost like these are some tools that are general. Yeah. And I feel like that is missed, that people want to infuse how they do things versus have them come to a solution for it. And I teach my clients to become better problem solvers.
And that's the greatest gift you can give them. Yeah.
Not careers. Right. And if this is what you want, let's go after it. Does it make sense? And is this something that you're willing to become?
you're having them mirror back what the problem is so they can actually see in the mirror what the solution is. Right?
Because I'm talking through it, and sometimes I see what they can become. I'm not gonna tell them that. I'm just sitting there like staring.
Show them by letting them be willing to take the journey. Yeah.
Are you there yet? Yeah.
But the biggest, I think, issue is that we've become such an instant society, and we don't know how to be patient. We want it now. And we want that downloadable app, that pill, that quick solution that's going to resolve everything. And that's why we see so much addiction today, because people are trying to take something to take away the pain, to take away the disconnect and not the sense of not belonging. And they're taking everything else to take it away without dealing with it, because you can't outrun yourself. You can't outrun your demons. You have to stand and face them to resolve them, to move on.
Yeah.
There is resistance is futile. You at some point you have to face it. So there's no point in hiding from it or running from it. It's find that right person that you have a connection with, that you feel you're on the same wavelength with, that can help you resolve it.
And I feel like we need to, even in different ways, we need to face our demons. And there's a lot of demons. Yeah, there's a lot of demons that lie within every one of us. And towards the last chapter of my book, I talk about the battle between light and dark. And we're both. There's the same coin, two sides, right? And there are going to be those moments that are very dark, but nothing lasts forever. And like we can, if we don't have those dark moments, we won't really appreciate the light that we have and the possibilities or everything that are blessings that we can manifest in our lives. And that's the reason why I always say we need to activate the God within us.
Yeah.
Because we are gods in our own ways.
Yes, that divine presence of whatever, and God, we're not talking religion. We're talking about a divine source of energy that is more powerful than us, that when we channel it, when we allow it to come through, is our clarity.
And that's the flow.
That is the flow. And, with the darkness and the light, I disappeared into the darkness for about 8 years in my life. Bad marriage, a few things going on. It was my escapism. And I saw the light always there, but I was getting comfortable in the dark. And then it was, I have to come out into the light. When I came out into the light, it was blinding and I felt shadows chasing me all the time. But as I got used to the light and got more comfortable with the light within me, I can go into the darkness now without any fear, because I am the light within the dark. That I had to be willing to take the journey, to be comfortable, not escape into the dark, not be afraid of the dark, but be at peace in the dark, because I know I am the light.
And then we gotta go, in order for us to find our talents, like I said, we gotta burn down that house.
Yes.
And those dark moments and that trauma that we run away from and avoid and put in a box is what we really need to open and just lean in, become curious. And like, is there some lesson that I can learn from this, right? And I just feel like once we lean in, imagine how powerful we can become.
And awesome. I love this word flawsome. You take a Japanese or Chinese bowl that breaks and they fix it with gold thread and it becomes more valuable because of our cracks, because we've had to put ourselves back together sometimes. In the essence and the substance of how we put ourselves back together is stronger than any glue or any gold in the world. And it's what makes us flawsome. It's through our flaws that we became so awesome. And there is nobody in the world that hasn't got a flaw, because that's human nature. But we can be so utterly awesome if we allow ourselves to be. But again,
let it go.
Yeah, let it go. That's why that song was so popular, because it related so much to people, right? We carry so much and we don't realize what we're carrying. And if you recognize it, and that's where sometimes you need somebody else to see it in you and mirror it back, or show them in the mirror what you're seeing, so they can see it for themselves. Because so often they're just, I just don't know how, I don't know what it is you're seeing. I don't know why I keep doing this. And they just need that help from somebody to show them what it is they're seeing, why they're seeing it, and then the empowerment they have in order to delete it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the power is in the awareness.
Yes, it is.
And I always say I'm seeding, I'm activating people.
Yes.
And like, and what with that activation, once you're activated, you can't deactivate yourself. It's one
you're
of them
switched
things.
on, baby. You're switched on.
The light is on. The light is on.
Yep. Even if you go into the darkness, the light's with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's time to party.
Yeah.
It's going to purge and it's gonna bleed out on you.
Yeah.
But you gotta know that we're gonna be okay.
Yes. Yes. And that the okay is, that peace you seek out there, that love you seek out there, it's all in here. Mm-hmm. Become the love, become the peace, become the joy. And then by becoming it, you are it. And that is then the essence and the resonance that you are now sharing out with everybody else. Yeah. That's where you are the solution. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm here, I'm waiting for you, let's walk. And we all trying to walk each other home.
Really what we're talking about is to simplify things. I mean, we get one layer of other, your parents' issues imposed upon you, societies, this, that, etc. And it's like a heavy coat that you're lugging around, you don't even know you're wearing. And when you become aware of it and you go, I don't need to lug this around anymore. It's not even mine. Right? It doesn't even fit. And then you're willing to let go of it. And then you almost feel naked for a while. But then look upon yourself as a newborn child and look at your eyes through like a newborn child's eyes with such wonderment, gratitude, and love, and see the world through a different lens.
Yeah. Another perspective, another way of viewing things. Yeah.
And, it's when we let go and we look at that, really living in that essence and that presence is really quite simple, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Like a deep breath all the time. And this is the, and you talked about as you get older, kind of the silliness that comes out in older people. Mm-hmm. Well, this is because they ain't buying that doodah anymore, baby. It's about lollipops and sunshine. Let's go and have fun.
Right.
We've forgotten how to have fun.
Mm-hmm. And like, as you get to, because I'm in an age that like everybody wants to work, like I'm a worker too, but like I work in different ways. Like I love to like do my job and then go play.
Yeah.
So
or even I like play to be in your job.
Right. And I like to be efficient. I love to play my job too, but I'm very efficient if I'm like working on something really hard and I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to get this done and cut time so I can go play.
Yes.
I can go meditate, go do everything I love to do. Right.
Go and enjoy nature.
Yeah. Go enjoy, run around, go catch some butterflies. Like,
I have an 18-month-old grandson, and being with him is such a joy because I've learned to be present with myself and just being present with him. Mm-hmm. And the simple little joys. And he loves coming in the car with grandma, and he always wants to go in the car with grandma because we will chat with each other, or we'll have a good screaming match just for the sake of screaming, or we'll make funny songs. I taught him how to go, and he looks at me, la, 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 la. And it's like, I could be silly buggers with him, and I love it, and he loves it too. And it's that, why couldn't I be this anywhere else? Why is it, that I have to be around a child to be silly buggers? And it's like, no, let the silliness out sometimes. Stop taking life or yourself so seriously.
I know. And sometimes like I like to be silly. And I will be like, if I say, if you want to cry, just laugh. And then the tears will go away. And you're like, and when I tell my teams that, and even people that when I'm part of teams with my different work, they start saying that this is right. Like, let's start laughing. And like, the more you think and start being silly, and like the worries and the stress of life is just dissipate.
It does.
It goes away.
It just like, how contagious laughter is.
Yes.
You know, somebody starts laughing and you have no idea what they're laughing at, and you start laughing at them, and then and it's like peanuts. You can't stop eating them. We're laughing, you can't stop laughing, you know? But it's the same as, you know, as I've just written my memoir, and there was a memory of me at the Montmartre steps in Paris, and I was there with my brother's ex-girlfriend who's an artist, and we were sitting there, and then somebody came up with some drums. And I was 20 and carefree, and I just started dancing to the drums. Then somebody came out with a guitar, and somebody came out with something else. I don't know where they came from, but all of a sudden there's all this music around me, and I'm busy dancing. And then obviously people asked her my name. Now they're chanting my name. And then we kind of get up and we all stop going off into the Montmartre restaurants and places like that, singing and as dwindling out. It was like you would see in a movie, but it was real life. And it was one of those moments of just like, I didn't care who was looking at me or judging me or anything else. I was present. And in my presence, I invited other people's presence. And we created a wonderful memory and a wonderful feeling that lightened us all up. Why are we so scared to do that?
I know. And I like to act a fool. Like,
Yeah.
I am so playful.
Well,
Like,
my kids think I'm a fool anyway because I'm dyslexic and I say words upside down or I invent words or, you know, I get
it
things,
doesn't
you know, and
exist.
so they're always making fun of me. So, you know, you go along with it.
I do not care.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Like,
Popeye, I am what I am.
yeah. And like you get it's like, you get people call you fascinated, but why am I fascinated? This could be like we could have a house party with
Yes.
life
Yes.
if we wanted to and still get the job done,
Right.
even in a cut time.
And I think it's like, I mean, I like theme parties, always used to have those. And like when we had the Oscars with the kids, I'd have them all dress up for the Oscars, you know, to watch them. And they were kids and maybe they didn't even see the movies, but they liked the dressing up. We had karaoke back then. So we loved the singing, whether it was good or not. My kids used to put on performances all the time for us. And then if I wanted them to behave, I'd start singing opera because they'll do anything to shut me up. Right. So you look at different ways. You know, there was enough heaviness in their lives, you know, with what was going on between their father and I. So we had to look for other ways to lighten things up. And, you know, and it's important to lighten things up because it's so easy to become bogged down. And then afterwards, you got to like, oh, why was this so heavy? Why was this so heavy? And I, you know, it's not a nice feeling, right? So lighten it up. Have fun. What are we here for?
I'm still trying to figure out like why if we're here to live, why are we
walking around like a funeral procession?
I feel like sometimes people walk around and you're like, did you go to a funeral today?
You know, I love watching the show The Walking Dead and they go, oh, I don't like zombies. I said, it's not about the zombies. It's about what people would do to live, right? How it changes them or how strong or the essence of what they become. But there are so many people that are the walking dead in life. They just zombified their lives, just going through lives totally mindless, detached.
Very mindless, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like until you become engaged with yourself and stop just going by this mindless, robotic walking death, you're not living. And it's up to you to decide to become engaged. No one can make you engaged. You've got to make that choice.
Yeah, there's this movie back in the 80s called Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
And like all of a sudden and people were like zombies and they were eating each other up and like they were going through this. And I was like, whoa, this is a true story.
Yeah. I agree with you. We gobble people up, right? You know, have you noticed how when somebody does something wonderful and we put them up on a pedestal, God forbid they should be human and do something slightly out of sorts. Now we tear them apart and start eating their flesh. What is it?
Is a physical representation of what we are actually doing in real life. And like, why? In real life.
I know.
And then you're like, this is actually pretty real. It's just metaphorically done to like amplify
Yep.
the experience.
Yeah.
It's pretty gory.
And we are pretty gory.
And that's what I'm saying. We're pretty gory.
I mean, you look at the way we treat each other. Really,
Animals.
I mean, we are worse than animals. Animals are much kinder to each other. They are much kinder to each other. They have so much more empathy. We are the animals in the disrespect side of things. I don't know how human beings can do what they do to other people. But when you look at it, as you mentioned earlier, you know, people that come from pain or dysfunction or abuse, they're the ones that become abusers. And they didn't like the experience themselves, but they never came out of the trauma. They never looked at it and disconnected from it or deleted that emotion to do with it. And they become an abuser, even in a different way, because that's all they know. And where along the line are we recognizing this? Not in our school system, not even in your church system, not in the family, because the family is all dysfunctional anyway. We need to recognize this early on and reset and rechannel them, redirect them into recognizing they're repeating that pattern and how to delete that control of that pattern. As you said, the chaos and the garbage that they keep carrying on, and reset their minds into a more empowering and uplifting way. But if we don't recognize it and we don't do something about it, then what do we got? A society as it is right now.
Yeah, and I always say that, like, you know, it's a vicious cycle.
Yes.
And I ask people, and people say, well, you know, we don't know. How do you know that you're in a cult?
When your sheep are going
yeah, when you're almost over that, when your house is burned down, you're almost over that cliff and you're hanging on to your life, then you realize, oh wait, there's something wrong with this picture, right?
Yes,
because it has to almost
when you're being
down.
Sacrificed,
right? Like, wait, hold up, I'm a human sacrifice now. I didn't see this coming. You didn't see this coming. It's right here.
It's like when you're watching a show and they're going into the basement, you know, and have Freddy Krueger's upstairs, you know, and it's like, don't go in the basement. And it's like, we keep going to the basement. And it's like, why we keep repeating? There is so much knowledge and awareness out there today. Why do we keep repeating the things that victimize us?
Just like
mindless behavior.
Yeah, mindless behavior. Just last thing, but like, just like in artificial intelligence, right? They're building like human beings to look like humans now, right? So you know that if you build it enough and make them extremely intelligent, they're gonna think that they can take us over because as a human, there's already like dysfunctions in us all over, right?
And that's all programming, right? But also we're already taken over, right? We're such a slave to the phone. We're already being doctrined very much by what we're doing. So, you know, it is what it is. Hold on one second.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Sorry about the interruption there. But, you know, we have to some point recognize, hell, I just did that. Deja vu. Why am I repeating it?
Yeah. Over and over. Why are you doing it? And like when you stop to think, it's like, is this all worth it at the end? What can I do to make my life better?
I had a wonderful woman on that was actually a host here for a while. And she's actually kind of from the hillbilly world. And everybody in her family was an alcoholic. And she said at 15, she had a glass in her hand. And she looked at her family and put the glass down and said, not me. And she lost 10 family members to alcohol. She tried to get her father off it. And for a while he was. And then the demons called him back. And then he drank himself to death. But she had made that conscious decision. I'm breaking the cycle. At some point, we've got to find that courage, don't we? To say, just because it has been doesn't mean I have to be.
Yeah, and I totally understand. And breaking the cycle of reactivity is something that we need to embrace. And not being so hard on ourselves. Like, you know, the drinking is because those demons, it's not the alcohol that basically drunk them to death, it's the attachment to it.
Yes. It's like
And
you're
it's the
cutting the
needing, it's
strings.
the wanting, the wanting, and it's the needing to it. And like not being able to get to the root of the situation of what you experience, that and realizing it's like, for example, some addictions like alcohol is a physical manifestation of a deep-rooted issue.
Yeah. As in any drug or any addiction of any kind.
Any addiction is a deep-rooted, it's a physical manifestation of a deep-rooted issue that you haven't really solved.
If there's something you can't do without, be it a food, be it drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, anything like that, that you know, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. It is an addiction. Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Where is it coming from? And I think, again, like you have those 3 lovely steps, which are really, you know, see it for what it is, you know, claim it. But if we look to things, oh, it's so hard. It's going to be so hard to do this. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the strength or the courage. You've already talked yourself out of it. But if you look at it,
signs.
Yeah. But if you look at it, you know, I'm willing to give it all I've got. I'm willing to go down this journey of self-discovery and release myself from these patterns that are holding me back. And I'm willing to give it my all. Then you're going to see that recovery be so much faster.
And then you understand, and then like you're starting to understand the root of why these addictions are there. If you can stop something, you can stop drinking, right? But somebody can stop, or you can stop like smoking, or you can do whatever these addictions is, right? Somebody can stop it, but if they're not fixing the root of the issue, they're going to pick that thing up right back.
There's always evasive roots that will keep on growing until you actually de-root them.
Yeah. You got to yank it out.
Yank it out and obliterate it. Yeah. Right. And make sure that you plant something else in its place that is joyful, that serves you, that is something that can nurture you. But that willingness to recognize there is a problem, then the willingness to say, I want help, whom and how, right? And then the willingness to take that journey. And that journey is going to be as long or as short as your participation, right?
It's going to be if that journey could be long, or that journey could be long and uncomfortable, or it could be really enlightening. So, yeah.
So your book, you know, mindless beliefs, but cutting those mindless beliefs and seeing them for what they are and how mindless they are, how soulless they are, how heartless they are, and recognizing it for what it is a catalyst into recognizing the problem and then seeking out the solution.
Yeah, recognizing it, but more of like questioning it.
Yeah.
Question like, why does it exist? And then like, then seek out the solution. But like, we had to gain that clarity.
If you're not willing to see the problem, how can you resolve it?
Yeah, you can't.
And you don't have to relive everything. You know how it used to be, tell me about your mother. And you have to relive all of your pain.
The circle therapy. I said the circle therapy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works for people. You talk yourself to death.
Like, yes. You know, I have fibromyalgia, and I remember going to a kind of a workshop, well, not even a workshop, just a meeting. And the person said to me, Sarah, don't say anything. And I listened to this. And the guy leading it had once been a drug addict. And I realized that his addiction now was other people's pain and sorrow. And he'd be, I know it's so hard. I know it's so difficult. You can rely on me. So the addiction had been now of people relying on him and believing it was so hard and difficult and so painful that they couldn't get through it without him. And of course, I couldn't hold myself back. And eventually it is like, well, why do you keep feeding it? Why do you keep worrying? Why do you keep looking at it so negatively? Because it's going to continue to be painful if you keep telling yourself it's painful.
You know, it's so interesting that you say that, because a lot of people, sometimes they're the best, but sometimes they're the worst to even leave.
Yeah.
That the ones that were the addicts, or they have been through the trouble and saying, hey, I'm going to help. it's almost like they haven't fully healed, or they
haven't
fully
completely deep rooted.
They haven't deep rooted. Healing is an evolution process.
Yes.
I mean, shoot, there is so much trauma out here. I don't even know. I mean, it's just a lot, right?
Yes.
But it's the taking the root and understanding the root.
Yeah.
You can't say I'm healed and then I'm going to open a battered shelter, but you have been battered all your life.
Yes.
And now you thought you came out through the other side of it, but like it's almost like that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It's just only transferred, right?
Unless you really
energy.
And the thing is, the best teachers are those that have gone through it, only if they have completely deep rooted and reset.
Yeah, deep root and reset.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if they haven't completely deep rooted and completely reset and redirected their life, they can help other people going through it because they understand. But they can only truly help them if they truly and honestly have redirected and reset themselves. And, again, for 10 and a half years of doing this, I've interviewed people who have had some horrific things happen to them. And they can talk about it, and they can talk about what they do without any attachment to it. Right? It is
that's
something
where you need to be.
That's right. And so they can relate. I understand what you're going through. I've been there. I'm no longer there. I'm no longer attached to that. That is just to help you understand I've been through what you've been through. Now, this is what I offer you to help you in moving forward, should you willing to partake. So they're an inspiration that begets an invitation, but they can only be beneficial if they've truly derooted.
Yeah. And I feel like there's some of that like debris.
Yes.
And there's a lot of debris. And like, I mean, you're totally right with the people, they can understand that better. I just sometimes see a lot of
they're not completely there yet. So yes.
Full circle.
Yes. And we've also got to realize that, in any trauma that we've been through, there is cellular memory. And that cellular memory is going to come up. And when it does come up, it's just, you thought you deep rooted it, you thought you got rid of it, but that cellular memory comes up. You have to see it for what it is. It's just a memory caught up in our cells. It's not a repeat. I don't need to be victimized by it anymore. I can just release it, let it go.
Let it go. Yeah, I know.
So it's taking ownership over it, because you've already got rid of it. There will always be, some, as you said, debris or residual that will come up. That doesn't mean you're going backwards. Just something, there's some dust in the corner you forgot to clear.
Yeah. and then, some people are very good at it. Like me, I regulate myself emotionally a lot, right? So if I'm going through trauma, it's kind of like I can literally look at things from a different perspective. And so my experience is going to be different.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time. It's something that I had to grow to learn because of a lot of my family background.
Yes.
And I mean, sometimes when I talk about my story and stuff like that, people say, you're saying it with a straight face, and it's just almost like there's no attachment there's no emotion. And for a long time, I'm like, there's something wrong with me that I'm really detached from it. But then at the same time, I'm like, no, it's just the experience. I'm not the experience.
You're not victimized by it anymore.
I'm not. I'm learning from it, but this is not my identity. So I'm not going to embody a stamp in time.
Exactly. It happened to you, which you made happen for you to grow from.
So you can go through it.
So that you can go through it, set into your own rhythm. And that's the thing, is being able to talk about things that happened in your past. As I said, I've been writing my memoir, and somebody said, oh, you're going to share all the pain. I said, no, I'm observing my life of things that have happened to me. I'm writing it as an observer. They happened. I was left feeling like that, but it's not who I am today. It was part of my journey in becoming who I am today. Right? And if this whole thing about, I want to know the drama, I want to know the pain, that is again a mirror of the pain and drama that's in you that you have not yet spent.
Yeah. And then just because I I'm very calm with a lot of things. The vulnerability. I'm a very vulnerable person. It's just I don't need to like have a lot of those deep emotions, like those crying and stuff. I
Yes.
am still emotional, but it's not, I can articulate what's happening, what am I
Yeah.
experiencing, right? And that's what we're lacking, is almost like finding the words for our pain.
Yeah.
That is missing sometimes.
It's also, emotions are all very good because they're there to indicate what we're going through at the time. So I always say acknowledge your emotion, spend your emotion, but don't become emotional about your emotion.
Yeah. And I think that like we do those like not able to regulate, because I think intelligence is a construct,
Yeah.
and I think it's everybody has some level of intelligence, and like saying emotional intelligence is
Yes.
kind of like doesn't make any sense.
No,
So
I
like
think
being able
we're
to
not
regulate.
taught though, are we? We're not taught to acknowledge our emotions, taught to suck it up, taught to get a hold of yourself, to what are you crying about? What you're just making a mountain out of a molehill, and we're not encouraged. Why are you feeling like that? What's caused it? Okay, right now, just have a good cry or have a good yell or have a good something else. Do you feel better now? Good, you spent the emotion. Let's move on. But if we don't acknowledge the emotion, it keeps fermenting and growing and growing those roots. And then we don't know why we have that emotion anymore. We don't even know where it first stemmed from, but it's grown a life of its own.
And they wreak havoc.
Yeah,
They wreak havoc in our lives.
it certainly does. What programs do you have for people to help them sever those unwanted emotions, de-root, and embrace the beautiful flawsomeness?
That's awesome that you asked me. So I do have, like, for business, I do have my Thriving program. So I call them Thriving experiences. So I have my Thriving brand more for entrepreneurs, small businesses, and startups. They're looking to move from reactive to reflective in their business, and like really get to the root of what they really want to do so they can produce sustainable results. And so my other program is for people that are looking to like shift their mind and really alter what they're really look at their life from another lens, and being able to get tools for them to create those lives of their dreams. So this is my Thriving Minds experience, and this is more hands-on, more like simulation based. I have different events, different I'm going to do group sessions, do programs, and also they have the book. So there's many different ways that people can like really engage with me in order to move their needle as well.
And, that's again, we're back to the word of engagement. Until you're willing to be engaged with your own mindless behaviors and understand what they are, how you can release them, how you can move on away from them, but become what you're really meant to become, you're going to be constantly living in that mindless pattern over and over again of old beliefs. You're fixing the strings each time that somebody severs them for you. So again, it's back to that accountability of knowing something's not working for you, knowing that doesn't matter how much you try, it's just not working out. What are you doing wrong? It's not necessarily what you're doing wrong, it's the mindset in which you're doing it.
Yep. And it's totally the mindset in which you're doing it. And sometimes like we just need to switch lanes.
Yes.
And look at it from another perspective.
Exactly. Tune into a different channel, folks. That particular radio station is static. It's actually obsolete. It actually went out of business and you're still trying to listen to it.
Right. You're still trying to find a station. What's that station again? No, it's not working. Get out.
Yeah, you're wasting so much time. It's gone, it's obsolete. Let's move on. So if people want to be a part of the program, where do they go?
They can go to mindless-behaviors.com, and like they can check my book out, and then they can read more about me. And then also my other website is Mirror Inc. 360, and then they can also set up a time there to even talk to me. We can talk more.
And that's, that 360 view, right? Of being able to look at ourselves from, from all aspects, from all sides of the equation. And when we're willing to do that, it's stop looking at yourself through the eyes of dysfunction that's been around you. Start looking at yourself from the inside out, not the outside in. Start feeling who you are. See yourself from your heart and your soul. Let your spirit ignite your intelligence, your mind, and let it, you'll know what you need to know when you need to know it, when you're in that state of wisdom, which there's that beautiful clarity that comes to you through your heart, soul, and spirit. We're not taught to be engaged with our spirit or with our soul or with our presence or our essence, who we are. The emphasis is always on the mind, and the mind is a programming that will keep you recycling until you update it into a different pattern. So, get with it by being yourself, right? Then you'll actually understand what you need to know when you need to know it.
Yes, so. Definitely.
Break those strings, folks. Snap those strings. We all have mindless behavior, and we don't even realize sometimes we're on that treadmill until, somebody mirrors it back to us. And then we go, oh my God, I didn't realize I was doing that all the time. Once you realize you are and you want to get off, you need somebody that's going to help you along the way. Well, Beatrice is here to help you do that. And she's not going to fix you. She's going to help you navigate through what does not serve you, sever the strings of the mindless behavior, and recognize the essence within you so that you can walk in your own presence with confidence. And we all need that help, and she's here to help you. So again, they can reach out again to the sites, which is mirrorlink360.com, and also they can go to mindless-behaviors.com. And you're also on Facebook under your name. Can you spell your name out for people who may not know how to spell it?
Oh, it's Beatrice, Beatrice Adenodi, Adenodi.
Right, so it's Beatrice.Adenodi on Facebook. You're also under Mirror Inc. 360. You're also under Mindless Behaviors on Facebook. You're on LinkedIn. You're under your name.
Yep, and it's under my name.
And people can reach out to you through the site.
Yes,
and they can get the book from Amazon.
Yeah, and they can get it from many sources. Amazon. I also have a store myself too. So
right, wonderful. So through the site or through Amazon, and folks, we've all been there. We've all been there. That's to be human is to get caught up into some mindless behavior. But at some point, we've got to recognize it is mindless. We need to cut the strings. We need to recognize what's not serving us and look to, well, how can I serve myself better? How can I become more enriched and abundant myself? Because that is then the solution and the service that you bring to everything else in life. It's up to you. She's here to help you. You can reach out. You can have a chat with her to see if there's a fit, and then invest in yourself to take the program in order to enrich yourself. We all want you to be switched on into who you truly, really are, and not be constantly living this mindless pattern that has been imposed upon you. So thank you so much for sharing with us today, love.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Up to us, folks. Carry on being human walking dead, or embrace the beautiful essence of our flawsomeness. It's up to you. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations, or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.